Here's today's First Word Daily Devotion.
It's April the 20th, and we turn to a very significant reading in Joshua, a passage that is a significant event in the study of God's dealings with His people. And this is to encourage us as we read, because we remember that God listens to us and He answers our prayers, and He will move heaven and earth to show us His salvation. And that's the hope that we have as followers of Jesus Christ, that God will move, and indeed through Jesus has moved heaven and earth in order to come to us and save us. Look at the details of the text. Look at verse 8. And the Lord said to Joshua, "Do not fear them, for I have given them into your hands." Again, we see this pattern repeated where Joshua's just a man, and he has a task before him, a mammoth task of conquest. And he's a leader of these millions of people. And here is the Lord coming to him, telling him, reminding him, do not be afraid, reminding him that I am with you. And that's what we need. Look at verse 10. The Lord threw them into a panic before Israel, who struck them with a great blow at Gibeon, and chased them by the way of the ascent of Beth Horon, and struck them as far as Azekah and Makkedah. Now, this is the Lord doing. The Lord threw down large stones from heaven on them as far as Azekah, and they died. And there were more who died because of the hailstones than the son of Israel killed with the swords. Now, why give that detail? Again, to ensure that our hearts are not trusting in what we can do, but we're really trusting in what He can accomplish. And of course, there's a balance. You can already hear it. Don't simply sit idly by. Instead, hope in the Lord. Trust in Him. Don't sit idly by. Our trust in the Lord is not an excuse for our irresponsibility, but the responsibility of salvation doesn't rest with us. It rests in the Lord. Look at verse 12. At that time Joshua spoke to the Lord in the day. Look at this. This is important. Joshua's praying. And the Lord gave the Amorites over to the sons of Israel, and he said in the sight of Israel, Sun, stand still at Gibeon, and moon in the valley of Ajalon. And the sun stood still, and the moon stopped, until the nation took vengeance on their enemies. Is this not written in the book of Jashar? The sun stopped in the midst of heaven, and did not hurry to set for about a whole day. And then here's the verse. There has been no day like it before or since, when the Lord heeded the voice of a man. For the Lord fought for Israel. And there is this hope that we have, that God never changes. And here He is able to stop the sun and moon for a time. And here He is moving heaven and earth through Jesus Christ to save us. Now, there may be some who want to question this from an astrological standpoint or astronomical, whatever. I always get those two terms mixed up. But anyway, there may be some who want to look at this and cause questions and to say, well, see, this can't be, because if we take the time and we've got the telescope, NASA says, but listen, that's not our point of reference. Our point of reference is not in some scientist in some lab where NASA's looking through a little bitty telescope to see the huge cosmos. That's not our point of reference of belief. Our point of reference is in the God who said, let there be, and there was. And this same God who said, let there be, and there was, is the same God that we encounter in the Bible. And so remember, we're not approaching the text with suspicion. We're approaching the text with faith, seeking understanding. Make sure that when you approach the Bible, ask the Bible those questions. But let's go ahead and skip over to our Psalm 102 reading just for a moment. Notice the pattern of the psalm. It starts out, hear my prayer, O Lord, let my cry come to you. And then we see this regular pattern of grounding our hope. Look at verse 12. But you, O Lord, are enthroned forever. So in other words, the pattern of the Psalms is it starts out with these questions, these deep questions, and it's okay to ask those questions as long as our questions are grounded in hope. And because of Jesus, because the tomb is empty, we have the ultimate grounding of our hope. Why do we believe in the Old Testament? Why do we believe in Joshua? Well, it's simple. Because Jesus believed in Joshua. And if Jesus can say, "Kill me, and in 3 days I'll rise from the dead," and he does it, then we can believe everything that he says. And so let's turn again to our Joshua reading as we close out our time today. Here we have these kings. And remember this, that we see this cave, and I love these stories like this. At the time the going down to the sun, Joshua commanded, and they took them down from the trees. And there again, they're hanging them from the trees. Cursed is everyone who hangs on a tree. And threw them into the cave which they had hidden themselves. And there they set large stones against the mouth of the cave, which remain to this very day. And I love reading those things because it makes me want to go over to where this place was and see if I can find the cave. Matter of factly, I read an article that I think someone said in the 1980s, they think that they found the cave of the 5 kings. But remember this, these are kings, meaning that they should have been buried with honor. But instead, these kings were from the wrong kingdom. They were a conquered kingdom, not a conquering kingdom. Now, let's turn over to our reading in John. We have to hurry now. Our time is gone. John chapter 2, again, notice a reference of the 3rd day. And I want you to see this, the first sign that Jesus does. It's a parable of the new that Jesus is bringing into the world. It's the story of what we say to the world when we come to church, remember? We gather on Sundays to tell the world what is right. And in this case, the first sign that Jesus does in the Gospel of John is he takes what is empty and he gives it life. And this is our hope as believers. We go into a world that's filled with emptiness, and we get to speak the Word of God the same way that he did in creation. When the world was empty and dark and void, we get to speak the Word of God. We get to hear him speak and bring life into empty hearts. This is why we read the Bible. This is why we tell the world that Jesus is alive, because he takes what is empty and he gives it life.